my wife and I were professors at Evergreen for 15 years, and Heather was literally the college's most popular professor. I wasn't terribly far behind. We had a really dedicated group of students who went back and forth between our programs. And because of the way Evergreen worked, we knew our students extremely well. We could go into the field with them for weeks at a time. It was a great place. And on May 23rd, 2017, 50 students that I had never met before streamed into the building where I was teaching, chanting my name, demanding that I be fired or resign. And their accusation was that I was a racist, an idea that they had actually picked up from some faculty members who didn't like me very much because I stood in the way of their attempt to change the college, which would have been a threat to the college if it had happened. And I said so in faculty meetings, and then when that became impossible, I said so over email. In any case, that protest became violent. It descended into violence over the course of a couple days, and the protesters made the mistake of filming everything they did and then uploading it. I think they uploaded it to Facebook, but it was later put on YouTube by somebody who wanted the world to see it. And when the world did see these students confronting me, something was clearly off. So the incident did not work out the way they had hoped that it would. And that catapulted me into the public eye. We requested, demanded, and then initiated the process of suing the college because they had obviously created an unsafe working environment. Students, the president of the college, who in some ways had triggered this whole episode, ordered the police, who were subordinate to him, to stay out of the conflict between students and us. And the students created a patrol. They wandered the campus with baseball bats. They actually battered another student. They were looking for me, stopping traffic, searching cars, this sort of thing.
To put things in perspective, this is 2017.
2017.
Right.
Yeah.
Were these students within the school, or they just came out of the woodworks to show up at the school?
These were very definitely students at the school. And so, this was, of course, downstream of a diversity, equity, and inclusion movement that had become quite powerful. And the school was a very liberal place, and so it's not surprising that we would have seen such a movement. And the problem is that the policy changes at the college that movement wanted to initiate would have destroyed the place. They were going to be lethal to its functioning, and it was my obligation as a faculty member to point that out.
To be fair, Bret, politically, are you a pro-Trump supporter, MAGA guy? Because if they're doing that to you, you must be a big supporter of Trump.
Well, they might think so.
Yeah.
I describe myself as a reluctant radical. And the reason I say reluctant radical is that I believe, after many years of studying the question, that our civilization can't really continue this way, that what we've done has been brilliant. There's, of course, been lots of carnage, but our system is not sustainable in the way it currently exists, and so it has to be retooled for humanity to continue to prosper. So that's the part that makes me a radical, is that I believe only radical change can save us. But I also know that if you take a system that functions, and our system does function, and you alter it, you are very likely to do harm, and you are very likely in your solution making to bring about unintended consequences which can be disastrous. So I am a progressive, but I am one with trepidations about change. And anyway, no, I'm not a Trump supporter. I'm also not a Biden supporter, wasn't a Clinton supporter. I believe we need to find a new direction.
Were you like a Bernie Sanders supporter at some point?
I was. Okay. I am no longer.
Okay.
I think that Bernie did represent a actual challenge to the power structure that has us locked into this bad trajectory. But I think he's lost his way. that said, even when I was a supporter of his, I wasn't overly convinced that he understood what direction we needed to go. But he did represent the possibility of breaking out of the death spiral that I see our duopoly as having
Speaking of
inflicted on us.
Speaking of duopoly, would you say over the last 5 years since 2017, you've had to do more mental wrestling with who you identify with more than ever in your life, politically speaking?
No, because 2017 is not where these questions arrived on my desk at first. I've been thinking about the question of how civilization functions as an evolutionary biologist. I was a member of the Game B movement, which was a small group of people who were interested in complex systems and interested in figuring out what the next phase of civilization should look like. So I had done a lot of thinking about it. And frankly, I think people make a mistake. They tend to affiliate with people and adopt their ideology. And my sense is that ideology is a problem, especially if you pick it up because of the people who hold it. So my sense is, even if there was nobody else on earth who agreed with me that we have to change the way civilization functions, right? I would still be a progressive by the technical definition, because I still believe we have to alter things if we're to do well. And my job is to convince people that that's true, if I'm right. Or if I'm not right, I have to allow them to convince me that I've got it wrong, and I will change my position.
So if you like this clip and you want to watch another one, click right here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click right here.